Hey, here's a joke for you. How many victors does it take to bring a dead body back to life? 1. Hi everyone, my name is Patricia.
And I'm Daphne.
The topic we chose for this film is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I will be drawing the visuals, and Daphne will be the voiceover. Take it away.
Today we're going to be comparing and contrasting Mary Shelley's Frankenstein to Tim Burton's modern take on the themes presented in her book. The themes we'll be going over are life, consciousness and existence, acceptance and envy, and last but not least, the Prometheus theory. But before we get started, we would like to talk about the similarities and differences between Shelley and Burton. A crazy fact is that they are both born in August, almost 200 years apart. Mary Shelley was born on August 30th, 1797, and Tim Burton was born on August 25th, 1958. Weird, huh? Both of their education was limited at a very young age, and both Mary and Tim found a passion for creating. Mary Shelley would write stories, and Tim Burton would film stop-motion movies in his backyard. Now that we know a little more about Mary Shelley and Tim Burton, we can now discuss the movies and the book. The first movie we'll be talking about is Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, and connecting that to the theme of life, consciousness, and existence. This movie tells the story of Jack Skellington and his role as a pumpkin king in Halloween Town as he tries to take over Christmas. Although Sally is not the main character, we see her struggle with her purpose of existing. Sally is the creation of Dr. Finkelstein, similar to that of the creature created by Victor. Sally is curious, restless, rebellious, and independent. Her need for independence is the main driving force behind her character. Drawing from her relationship with the doctor, we can assume that she has always been out for herself. She wants to explore what's around her and be involved with the town. Dr. Finkelstein, on the other hand, doesn't believe she's ready for such excitement. This creates their dynamic. Sally is desperate for freedom, while Dr. Finkelstein wants to pigeonhole her for an indefinite amount of time. In terms of the creature and Victor, the creature's purpose is defined by his relationship with Victor. The creature is portrayed in the beginning as lost and confused, only understanding that he is an outsider. He wants to understand and to learn about his place in the world, becoming dependent of Victor's role as his creator. The concept of life, consciousness, and existence is the idea of having life, being aware of life, and finding a purpose. Mary Shelley presents this theme through the creature's perspective. The creature is created, knows it's alive, and spends all of its life finding a purpose. Tim Burton presents this theme through Sally's character by showing that she is Dr. Finkelstein's creation, born with a sense of self-awareness, unlike the creature. Sally has this innate sense of independence and is constantly trying to find something new for her life. The creature, on the other hand, lives for Victor, his god, and doesn't have a direction. With The Nightmare Before Christmas out of the way, we can now move on to talking about another dead body and another Victor. The next movie we'll be discussing is Tim Burton's Corpse Bride and the theme of acceptance and envy. Corpse Bride is a movie about a man named Victor who marries a dead bride named Emily out of nervousness. Emily is the main character of this story, and we see her first try to come to terms with the fact that she's dead, and with the addition of Victor, she starts to become envious of Victoria, the woman he was supposed to marry. Towards the end of the movie, spoiler alert, it's revealed that her ex-fiancé murdered her for her money, which is why she died a bride and has been waiting for someone to break that curse of being in limbo. When Victor comes along and accidentally marries her, she soon finds out and becomes envious of his betrothed wife, Victoria. Seeing Victoria makes her aware that she will never be a bride. In Frankenstein, the creature, knowing he's not human, carries this envy of not being able to go through the same experiences as other humans. When he's retelling his story to Victor, he talks about this family that he's been watching for about a year. He emphasizes the fact that he can't interact with them, and this makes him painfully aware that he's not like everyone else. Acceptance happens similarly for the both of them. Emily and the creature both realize there isn't anything left for them, and they move on. Emily dissolves into butterflies, whereas the creature goes off to set himself on fire. They're not necessarily happy endings, but they're both content with their decisions on how their existence ends. For our last comparison, we will be discussing about Drew and his creature. Just kidding, it's another Victor and his dead dog. Roll the tape. The last movie we'll be discussing is Tim Burton's Frankenweenie and the Prometheus theory. Frankenweenie is actually a fairly close adaptation of the characters and the themes of Shelley's book. In the movie, Victor is a young boy who has a great bond with his dog Sparky. Sparky stars in Victor's stop-motion movies that are filmed in his backyard. Unfortunately, one day during Victor's baseball game, Sparky gets hit by a car and dies. Victor decides to bring his dead dog back to life by using science and electricity, inspired by a lecture from his science professor. His method of bringing his dog back to life ends up getting out to the public, and it is used with the wrong intentions, creating monsters that rampage throughout the town. Both Victors are alike because they both get exposed to the concept of bringing things back to life, and both want to execute that practice for their own intentions. Sparky is like the creature because they are both the products of this practice. The difference is that Sparky and Victor had a bond before Sparky died, and the creature and Victor had no bond before the creature came alive.
The Prometheus theory is based on the myth of the Titan Prometheus, who brought fire to humans. Zeus punishes him by chaining him to a rock, making an eagle eat his liver forever. The myth boils down to the modern understanding of this theme, man taking something they ultimately can't control and facing the consequences. In Frankenweenie, Victor initially keeps his discovery to himself, but gets persuaded by another classmate of his to share his findings. Victor's trust ends up being a mistake, and the classmate betrays Victor and shares his secret. This then leads to everyone abusing that power for selfish reasons and ultimately ending in the town being taken over by zombie pets. In Frankenstein, the consequence of Victor was the paranoia that came with the creature and not knowing what the creature was doing or its motivations. Like Prometheus and having his liver eaten forever, Victor continuously struggled with the mental toll of creating a creature he ultimately had no control over. This connects to the Prometheus theory because as soon as the creature is alive, Victor has no idea what to do with his discovery. Although the creature is a physical manifestation of his work, Victor's true struggle is with taking accountability for his actions. He steps away from the creature just like he steps away from his work, trying to distance himself from the consequences. This lack of accountability leaves the creature to become a product of its own observations and experiences. Both Victors struggled with what happened after bringing a creature back to life. Frankenweenie's Victor initially struggled with keeping his discovery a secret, eventually telling another classmate and dealing with the consequence of betrayal. Frankenstein's Victor deals with the constant knowledge that the creature was out there, but not knowing what it was doing or where it was going. Overall, Tim Burton manages to translate several themes from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein into modern twists that spread through his movies. The Nightmare Before Christmas deals with life, consciousness, and existence.
The Corpse Bride deals with acceptance and envy.
And Frankenweenie tackles the Prometheus theory. Basically, each of these movies can be summed up with 3 characteristics: a dead body, a purpose, and some guy named Victor. I mean, that's literally all you need for a good Tim Burton movie.
Despite being born 200 years apart, Mary Shelley and Tim Burton managed to find creativity in fantasy, science fiction, and the difficult topic of death. They've created worlds that invite thought and imagination, allowing the audience to enter realms with an open mind to the impossible and the fantastical.
We hope that this film gave you a better understanding of the impact of Mary Shelley's famous novel in the entertainment world.
So the next time you decide to change your name to Victor and bring a dead body back to life, consider the following.
Don't.